Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you, Anita. Thank you. What a lovely greeting. Thank you. Whoa. Down boy. Okay. Yes, my mother would be heard saying at certain times in my adolescence, "How can you go to the movies? It's such a nice day." But I ignored that. I want to thank you all first and foremost for coming to see the third and final installment of Buster Keaton's saga. And we're glad we could squeeze it in tonight. You know why you're here. And those two words are Buster Keaton. And there's another reason that I'm particularly happy and proud to be introducing this film tonight, and that's because it is serving also as a specific tribute to the late Frank Buxton. And if you didn't know, many people didn't know him personally who come to this event, but you should know that he and his wife, Cynthia Sears, were generous benefactors and active participants in this festival for years and years and years. And we have them to thank for the continued health of this festival, among many other people. I wrote an essay in the program book about Frank, and that says pretty much all I have to say, or all you need to know. Except I don't know if I mentioned the fact that I met him when I was like 13 or 14 years old at a Sons of the Desert banquet in New York, because he was one of the founders of that Laurel and Hardy group, Sons of the Desert. He had so many things, fingers in many, many pies over many years' time. At the same age of 13, I met Buster Keaton. That's a long story that I'll tell short. He was making that short subject with a script by Samuel Beckett. And they were shooting that short film in lower New York City, near Canal Street. And there was an article about it in the New York Times. Well, I lived in suburban New Jersey, and we got the Times delivered every day. I opened the paper that morning, and my best friend and I were going to go into the city for the day. And there's a story about Buster Keaton making a film. And I'll quote exactly, "Alongside a dilapidated warehouse in the shadow of the Brooklyn Bridge." I said to my friend, "We're going. This is our shot." And I had just gone to a local used bookstore and gone through a pile of movie stills and found an interesting one of him, but I didn't know what film it was from. I shoved that in an envelope, took a pen, and we got out of the subway at Canal Street, looked around, and about 3 blocks away, there were some reflectors and lights, no security, no sign of any kind of big deal. Even today, if you see them shooting a commercial, there are semis parked outside and all that. No, none of that. But there was evidence of a film being made, and we guessed right. And sitting in the back seat of a car, reading the newspaper with the pork pie hat on the seat next to him was Buster Keaton, who we talked about this still. That was my icebreaker. Could you identify this still, Mr. Keaton? Which he did, because he had a great memory. And I just had a few minutes of chatter with him, and then I sensed it was time to back off and give him his privacy. But I met him. It's my lifetime memory. And the other lifetime memory was meeting Frank Buxton. They both had a great influence on me, come to think of it. They had I have only one thing really in common with both of those guys. Frank married well. He married a wonderful woman, became a devoted husband and father. And Cynthia was here opening night, and also their daughter Olivia was here to accept that wonderful proclamation from Rob Byrne. Buster got it wrong a couple times, but then married well. And my wife and I got to know his wife. I don't want to call her widow. She was too active, too in the present, in the moment. Eleanor Keaton, remarkable woman. And I married well. I got it the first time. And I don't thank my wife Alice enough, and I want to do that now, because without her I wouldn't be standing here. I want to say one other thing that may seem like it's off topic, but it's about Buster. 30-some years ago, the city of Los Angeles, well-meaning, decided to put a plaque in the sidewalk where Buster's own studio had been, south of Santa Monica Boulevard. And they had a nice ceremony. They got Ralph Edwards to host it because Ralph Edwards had hosted This Is Your Life, Buster Keaton, one episode of his long-running show. And Eleanor Keaton was there, and Donald O'Connor, who played Buster in a not very good movie, but who was a fan of Buster's, an admirer of his, and some other dignitaries and such. Their speeches were made. And I took snapshots, so they're a very strong memory for me. Except they got the wrong place on the sidewalk, on the wrong side of the street. It happens. Later this month, they're righting that wrong. They're going to put a new plaque in the proper place, and it's going to be Buster Keaton Day in Los Angeles. So that's something nice and positive. You don't get to spread a lot of good news these days, and that's as good a news as I can spread. Battling Butler is would not be, I think, anybody's choice for the greatest Buster Keaton film. It's certainly not the best-known Buster Keaton film. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing it here the way you want to see any silent movie, with this audience and this theater and that music. It's the perfect combination. It's one of the many ironies of Buster's career that this film was a box office hit, and the film that followed, a little something called The General, was both a critical and box office flop. Some of the reviews, you can look these up online, some of the reviews were really savage. They didn't get it. How did they not get it? I don't get that. Battling Butler, though, was very well received and was a financial success, which was good because it enabled Buster to keep making his films, at least for a while. How people reacted to these movies back then is sort of an interesting curiosity, but not a necessity. It doesn't really have any relevance to us today except curiosity. What matters is that Buster is still immediate. I think he actually is more popular now than at any time since the 20s because he's cool, not warm. He's got that emotional distance that's very much in vogue. Some people now find, and I hate when people compare Chaplin and Keaton. Give it up, folks. They're both great. Chaplin is warm, and Buster is cool. And cool is more in vogue, as I say today, than warmth and sentiment. Buster was one of a kind. He was his own best special effect. He was his own best writer, his own best director, his own best stuntman. He did it all. And sometimes when I show vintage films to my class, even short subjects to my class, I teach at USC in Los Angeles, students, believe it or not, will say, how'd they do that? When I show them something of this age, it's like, they're so accustomed to CGI. They're so trained to believe that everything is manipulated and, artificial and made to look real. It doesn't compute that, no, they really did this. What you see is what you get. And with Buster, what you see is what you get. And what you get is greatness. And as the festival believes, great art is timeless. So let's look at the timeless Buster Keaton in Battling Butler. Thank you very much.